Hi everyone, I'm at the final stages of this painting now, so what I've done, I've gone over this with some more green, dark green, to bring it forward, and then all these other trees look like they're behind it basically. Now I'm going to highlight this tree and a few of these bushes, and then after that I'll be able to paint this tree in and show you how to do that. So I'm just going to start off with a bit of cadmium yellow and a bit of sap green, and with that get a nice light green colour. I'm just using little plastic plates at the moment, they're disposable, but if you keep them cleaning them, last for quite a long time. I don't want it to be too bright. This first colour I want to actually use some of that. I'm going to switch plates now, so I just want a tiny bit of red into that to change the tone. I want it to be more of a yellow ochre type colour. So you see there, with the red in it, you get a bit of an ochre tinge to it then. So with that, I just want to, not too bright, I don't want it to be too bright. I just want to come up in here and highlight underneath them trees, just a little bit of a different shade of colour. So you got a good variety of colour tone going on, just in there. I'm not putting pressure on, a lot of pressure, and I haven't got loads of paint on the bristles neither. So just tap in there, bit of that colour. I'm going to put some greens down in these lower areas, but while I've got this colour on here, I'm just going to work on that one bush. Maybe put another little bush here, just in front of that tree, just to give a bit of some definition in them shadows. You can see some leaves going on. It's predominantly darker on this side, it's more in silhouette, you see. Maybe we've got one down in there. You see, I haven't even had to reload the brush yet. And anywhere where you get too much of it on, don't worry about that. You can easily put a bit more dark over the top. So I do want it darker on this edge, definitely. Although you still get some leaves in there. Right, that's okay for that side. Happy. Just wanted to get something underneath these. Maybe just a bit up in there too. Bit of sunlight catching that one. That's nice. Just up in there, catching a bit of sunlight from the fruit trees. Nice. And then over in here, I want to go back to the other green that I was using, which is the sap green, cadmium yellow together, and with that I'm going to push and get a ridge of paint on the brush. So just to show you, I'm going to tap and then push and get a little ridge just on that top edge of the brush there. So you've got paint on the bottom, but you've got a bit more on the top. And then just up in here, because the sunlight's going to be coming through here a tiny bit, I want to just highlight some of these branches, but I'm not touching hard. I'm being very subtle, gentle there, because I don't want to destroy that dark. I still want it to have a dark colour underneath, so that you've got the depth between this tree and the ones behind. That's pretty important, is that. Now up in there, maybe just put some little highlights, but I don't want it to get too bright, just enough. So you can see some nice leaves on there, like a beech tree or something is this. And then at the side, just over in here, I'm going to paint a pine tree. So we've got two different types of trunks that I'll be teaching. in this. Two different ways of doing two different trunks of trees. They're all slightly different, the birch and everything. Bit of sunlight coming through there where the blue sky is showing through, so I can put a bit more pressure on to make it a bit brighter. Just up in there, here and there. A bit darker up in there, so I'm being very gentle. Don't want it bright up at the top in there at all. Just a few little indications up in there and that's it. Keep it dark. Some more highlights down in here. That's good, I'm happy with that. It's coming off the brush nicely. I'm just using the top corner if I can, because it gives some lovely effects and shapes. If you were doing like a weeping willow, I'd be leaning them over more of an angle. Brighten that up a tiny bit, just on the end of there. Bit more sap green with that. Keep remixing your colour up as well, it's quite important. Right. Now just down in here, have one because I'm going to have some trunks and stuff in front of this. I want it to be a bit brighter so it's picking up this sunlight. Just on tops in there. And even put some sparkles of yellow, little sparkles of white in too, like I have done here. Really enhances it. Just makes it look like that sun just zinging off there. A few more. Just where I put these darks as well. Just want to come in and put some little highlights over the top of the darks. Gives depth. When I paint the trunk back in for the tree, it's going to give some nice depth then. Right over that trunk. Let's go into plan. Same up in here. A few highlights here and there. Leave them dark shadows here and there. They really can be your best friend, them shadows. Gives you the contrast that you're after. I'm going to go and get a little bit of the yellow ochre colour. Maybe even a tinge of red in that. And just down in here, I'm going to put a little bush that's a bit separate. Just in there where it's coming out into that pathway. Nice. Just a little bush. Bit some up there. Predominantly dark. There. Happy with most of them highlights. I want to leave a lot of these darks. Because like I said, I want that to be in silhouette more or less. Just down there. Put little indications of some bushes with the green, not the yellow ochre one, the green colour. So again we're contrasting between the two colours, not all the same. Just here and there you can just put a few little zinging bits of yellow just on the tips of that. Good. And same again with this, just here and there, going to touch the tops, so there's a bit of sunlight just hitting in there, but only sparingly. Don't overkill this effect. It gets working good for you and it's easy to just get carried away. But yeah, just now and again. Do it with white too, little tiny bits of white on the brush. sparklers up in here too. Just the odd one where a bit more light's hitting. That's it. Up in here maybe, got the odd one. That light just zinging off top of them, maybe fruit trees. Happy. A few little brighter ones down in there. Just along the edge of the pathway. That side I'm happy with now, I'm going to leave that. Now back to the trunks on this side. So I'm just going to clean this brush. Just using acrylic, so it's water. Just some water, squeeze out the bristles after. And that's good enough to use again. Right, so I've got a little fan brush. You could use a big fan brush or whatever, but I'm wanting to try and get a bit more detail this time in this. So I'm just gonna get the some black. So we've got two different colours to make a brown. I've got sap green. Sap green. I've got umber, burnt umber. And I can just use a bit of black and a bit of red, because green and red makes brown. That should give us a nice dark brown colour just in there. Bit more black to that. I want it to be quite a dark tone. Quite shadows in here, a lot of shadows. So the dark part of the tree I want to be very dark. So that's why I'm sticking so much black in with that brown. I know I'll have a good contrast between the highlights then and the shadows on this tree. So I'm just going to get the majority of that off. And then over here I'm going to get some titanium white on this other palette. So I'll pick up some of the dark colour that I mixed, put that in there. I'm just going to add some white to it so we get a lighter tone. So we've got darks and then lights to work with. Put quite a bit of white in with that. Just try and mix it best you can with your brush. Yeah. Something about like so. So then I will just clean off the brush. Just going to roll one side of the brush through dark, like so. And then one side, I'm going to flip it over through that light colour that I've got in there. Maybe even a bit lighter than that because it's going to mix. There. Now just up in here, I know I've got these branches. So I'm just going to come down with that, just like so, into there. And I want it to have quite a gnarly trunk that comes right out to there. Just going to touch some of these that I did before, leaving gaps where the leaves are. And then I'm going to make it a lot wider than it is at the moment. So that's the highlight side I'm putting in there. and then I'll have a shadowed side to that too. With acrylics you can go backwards and forwards constantly. A bit too bright. That's something like I was wanting. And then again you can brighten stuff up, darken it off, however you like. So that's the light side. Just blend that down to about there. It's a bit too smooth looking and stuff at the moment, so again I'll just wipe my brush off. I'm going to go into some dark brown again. I'm just going to go on this opposite side and create the sort of width that I'm after for this, because I want it to be quite a big tree with a big trunk sitting down like that. And you can come back and just blend that gently into the light area that you've just done. So same just up in here. Good. Now, just over here, I'll have a bit wiggly going into about there. Blend that so it's nice and smooth between the lights and the dark. So you got one side dark, like I say, and the rest light. I'm just going to do a bit more on that dark side. I want to put like a blue shadow into this back area. Like a blue shadow. With being on the shadowed side, usually get a tinge of blue going into that, you see. So I'll put the darks in first. That's working out well, what looks nice. Same on this side. Come down one side, one edge, and then blend it in between the two colours. Something like that. See that zinging off of there now, that light, that's working. Happy. Same on this side, a bit dark. Just blend, leave these little areas because it looks like little knots in the tree and stuff. Right now, a little bit more dark, just on this side of this one. Just going to go to that. Quite a big branch, and then what I'll do is I'll actually paint some little branches and stuff now. Highlighted that a bit now. Put a few more green leaves and stuff as well, you know, in front of these. That's fine. So I'm going to go on to this one and then we can go back to doing the small stuff afterwards. I just want to get the majority of it done. So I'm going to do the same thing with the dark on one side and a nice light colour on the other. Only difference on this one, I'm going to just tap. So I'm just going to tap along the edge of it like so, all the way up. Just like that. If you go over too much, you can just wipe it off like so. no problem, just wipes off and you can just go back in again. A bit more like highlight colour. All the way up to there, and then down to about there. Just doing one side at the moment, just by tapping with the light colour. It is dark on the other side, but I'll probably just go straight to a straight dark brush to do the opposite side, to do the shadow side. I want to get some of that in there first. There. Now I can just mix a bit of a brighter colour up actually, a bit brighter, and just tap that edge again so that we get a bit of a brighter tone. That's it. That's better. Reload. And then I'm just going to tap nice and gently. Just up in the highlight again. Just want to brighten that edge up. Tend to grow when you do these trees. Bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't mind because they're in the foreground. I want them to have a decent bit of size to them. Just going above the top edge. A little bit in there, but it's going to be predominantly dark in there. Happy? Now again I'll clean off the brush. I love that tree, it's quite twisty. I'm happy. Right. Now just with the dark colour now. The dark brown. I'm going to tap on the opposite side. Just like so. Quite a big trunk on it, this. And then tap gently into the light tone. So it's dark to light. A bit more dark on that. Just like that, you see, so you've got definition between your shadow and your dark edge. It's thinner as we're going up. Just tap it into that highlight colour a bit. Just in there. It makes it look like a little pine tree. Use little pine effects. You can use a palette knife too, but I do like to do this, and when it's dried you can go over it again and just put little ribs in here and there where there's some deeper darker areas, you know, where the branches come off or something like that. Just do one there, and I'll do one there where it's a bit lighter as well. See that? Just a few little indications of sticks and twigs that have fallen off of there. They're always shedding sticks and twigs, so you end up with little indents in the branches, in the trunks of the trees. Same up there, softly. Really easy to do, just worth taking the time. I really took my time over this painting because I just did not think it didn't deserve to be rushed, and I think it's paid dividend. Sometimes I do little long-term projects and I should really upload them once I finish the paintings, but I just get a bit eager to show people what I'm doing, so sorry about that. But hopefully you can see now where I was going to be going with it. A few highlight colours just up into there now. Not much though, just enough. It's nice to, I'll just do it now, have a little root coming down there from that, with sunlight zinging off it a tiny bit. I'm going to tap into that so that it blends to the dark. It's easy for one to overtake the other with acrylics, so just keep going backwards and forwards between the dark and the light. You find a good balance then eventually for your highlights. See, it's going to be quite dark on that side down in there, so I need to use quite a bit of that dark colour to indicate that. There. Now I'm going to get some brown, straight brown, because just on here, this pathway, I'm wanting it to zing across this way slightly, just in here, leaving just a bush coming out, and then I'll put some light colour into that and allow it to mix a bit with it. There. Just tap. Pan brushes are so good. I use for oils, I use them for acrylics, I even use them for watercolours. Such a multi-purpose type of brush. It's this. It's brilliant what you can use them for. Right. So it's going to come around this way. So there's going to be some dark, like bushes and stuff coming up at this side. You can actually flip a few stuff up like so. I want them to stand out in front. I can leave a bit of that showing through. A couple of darker bushes just in there, in this foreground spot. Always going to see them. And then the pathway winds its way around that way. And I'll put another pool of light, a couple of little bits here and there of this dappled light again. Something like that. Maybe just that little indication here and there. Some rocks in the shadows maybe. Could use a small brush, and the way that we did this by loading light on one side and dark on the other, you can do some nice rocks like by doing that same thing. Just a few little highlights on it then. They're going to stand out in here anyway. Any little boulders and rocks that I put in, because it's so light, they're going to stand out lovely, you see. And then a bit darker when you're in these shadowed areas obviously. And maybe I can come back afterwards and just put a few little glimmers of light on top of them where it's coming through. If they're in shadows like that one is, I won't bother. Only if they're touching, say I put one in there, top of it's going to have some sunlight on it. But you know, when you're in woods, you're always having to dodge all these little boulders and stuff on pathways. Tons of them. You get them everywhere. So it's nice, especially at the edges of the paths. You tend to see them more. Your boulders and stuff, but you do get them in the middle too. Some little ones. Maybe a couple. One there. A couple coming out under trees. Even some little rocks. And then with that, clean that brush off. Right, so I've just mixed up a very light brown, the same brown we had before, just with a bit of white, and here and there I'm going to come along the edge of this where I think it's going to be hit by light coming through, just here and there. I don't want too much actually, I had a bit too much on my brush then, don't need tons of it, and then just here and there. Going to come down that edge. Ooh, went a bit too far. You can use a bit of saliva to rub it out sometimes if you go a bit too far, like I did there. I'll just rest my hand on there now. There. I'll add a bit more water to that, so it's a bit runnier. Add a little bit of water to the paint and it'll just make it work a bit better for you. I'm just going to touch it in certain areas and then blend back into it again with the dark. So maybe it's going to miss a bit there and hit in there, just a tiny bit. Some areas it will hit more and just a bit in other areas. There's this sunlight just beaming through, as you can see down here. Maybe a little bit's crept through into there. There too. Just on the edge of that. Tiny bit up in here. Maybe it's hit a bit stronger in that spot as well. So I'll just pull it out. Now on this one it must be just, it's highlighted to there, but with the light coming from that certain angle, it'll start to highlight up here too, a little bit just on that other side. And they do make a difference, these little highlights. I really believe that they make a huge difference to your finished painting. Very bright, a bit too bright, but doesn't matter. Can always darken it off a tiny bit. These are all little fun finishing touches that you can do. That light creeping its way around there. It'll definitely dull off a little bit anyway. Just in here. Blending behind it a bit. Maybe a bit of light straight through there. Just there. Try and make it as much like the bark on the tree as you can. Highlight that a bit. Leave gaps in between where you highlight to. That's still a bit wet in there. Like I said, these highlights do really make or break your painting. It's easy to get excited and overdo it. Try not to do that. Bit of sunlight just coming down onto there. And also you can use your brush on the side like that. See that? Just to make it look like there's some little bits of light hitting in there too, here and there. You know, creating little. Do it with the fan brush though, I think. Right. So we've got a couple of little bright spots. I might just brighten this a little bit up here, a bit more. Just in there. There's that little bulge. And then a little bit there again. Just keep brightening it up, just to make it do what you want it to do. Happy? Right, so I'm just going to use the fan brush now. And with the fan brush, I'm just going to go into that same light colour that I mixed. So I've got a chiseled edge. I'm just going to brighten up certain little areas of this. A bit brighter up there, you see. A few little brighter ones they will. So by tapping that in, then I can go back to the dark again. Just on this side of it, I can tap some of that in and just leave that on the very edge. The brighter spots, just on that very edge. Go back in and put some in the middle as well in a minute. It's a matter of just going backwards and forwards between the two. See, that makes a bit of a nice difference, does that? A little bit of that lighter colour again. Just in here, I can put a few little ribs in for the bark, just tiny little highlights, not very bright. And while I've got this dark on here, I'm going to blend into some of them, just a little bit. Just soften them off a little bit. Also puts a few more little details and indications in there for you. Same in this part of the trunk. I'm going to come back in and see that, just here and there, in the centre part, but you're not putting a lot of paint on. There's not a lot of paint coming off here. You use your finger to go back over it and make it even more subtle.
so it only just stands out on that dark shadow side I'm talking about. Right, I'm happy. Now, I just want to do some of these little rocks that we've got down here. Put little highlights on them. Just the odd one of them where the sun's going to hit it. And then as you start to run out of colour, I can go to the ones in the shadows. Just put a little bit of something on there too. Just them little rocks that I painted in before. Now, just going to use a liner brush. On this one here. I want it to be quite lit up on top. Then have a dark shadow underneath. So by putting it on with the liner brush, it can be quite accurate. Bring it down underneath. And leave a nice dark shadow there. Sometimes it works a little bit better. Just add a little bit of water. I want to come down a bit more of that. To about there. Very small details, but it's nice little things to do. Get light on top, dark underneath. Something about like so. Got a couple to do just in here as well. There's one just there. Oop. Rest of my hand on a dodgy area. That's good though. I'm going to finish off after doing these just by putting a few more little bits of dappled light on the pathway, and that's it. Right. Notice I keep going back into these areas and softening them and blending and making them look more natural. Right, fan brush, that colour for the dappled light. And just here and there, like where this is coming through here. And make it a bit bigger. Just in there. And if you have the bristles open, when you come in and put your dappled light in, see that? It gives you sporadic bits of it coming out here and there. But you still want these pools of light up in here. There's a few that are coming across, and a few individual ones like that. Just here and there where it's sneaking through. Then I'll go and put a little bit of light brown on there. Now where I put that there, pool of light. A little bit of something just there. While you got this white on your brush, it's always good to come back up into this area here, and then just here and there, just touch the corner, a little bit of light. It's just zinging off them leaves, but sparingly. Don't do it too much, and also it'll show a bit of light zinging right through the trees because it's never totally blocked out, never. And like I said, just do it sparingly. A bit too much on that. It's better. especially out here. You're going to get a few little ones. Just using corner. You could use a liner brush for this if you want to be really accurate, but I'm not too fussed. I like different sizes of them. I think it looks a bit more natural when you get some smaller, some a bit bigger like that where sunlight's really showing through. And that's it, that's good. Right guys, I think for this painting, I'm going to call it done. But what I've got a really nice frame for it. So what I'll do is I'll get the border and the frame and everything, and I'll come back to you and show you that. Just a few little brown highlights over that, and over these little pools of light everywhere, even in there. It's not going to be just white. It's never going to be straight white. It's going to have a bit of that brown tone in there too, from the leaves being lit up. Same up in there. Good. I'm happy.